podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hey, Ed, welcome to your podcast, where this week we will be exclusively discussing Dinamo Zagreb 3, Tottenham Hotspur 0, ignoring everything else that happened in the world of football. No, we beat Milan, that was fun.
That was. I mean, I'd be willing to talk about that a fair bit, because actually for 45 minutes, second 45 minutes, United were quite good, but it's all kind of overshadowed by the heaped pile of steaming dung that was United's defending in that cup quarter-final.
I mean, you know, the defending was world-class appalling, and we'll of course break down the catastrophe of the 3 goals one at a time in great detail, assigning blame and personal responsibility to professional athletes who are thousands of times better at what they do than we've ever been, but still.
But also, don't forget, we'll also be insulting their parentage and how they look as well.
But the attacking play was also appalling.
Yeah.
Apart from 1 5-second bit of excellence from 3 good players that led to a goal. But that was the only good attacking play for the whole game. So the defending was truly atrocious, and the attacking play was spectacularly mediocre. And a tempting semi-final against Southampton, which was drawn at half-time, has been snatched from our grasp by Brendan Rodgers' cruel machinations and Ole Solskjaer's bizarre first-team selection, tactical approach, and substitutions.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were complaining during the game while watching that Ole never makes any substitutions, and although in this one, because he only made 1 against Milan, when clearly fresh legs would be needed, negs too, actually, to be honest, that might help with some of the players. And just predicting that Bruno and Cavani would come on in the 60th minute for like substitutions, and then he pulls out 4 substitutions. Mostly like for like, leaving the absolute disaster class of Fred on the pitch. He'd been having one of the worst games a single player has ever had, I think. Just abysmal. From start to finish. I mean, summed up by the awful attempted back pass that he did for Leicester's. Or did he even attempt the back pass? He was caught in possession, wasn't he? Yeah, right, he did. Yeah.
No, he didn't attempt the back pass. He slowly rolled the ball to Kelechi Iheanacho.
Yeah, I know. Weighted through ball, the first one Fred has ever done. But kind of summed up by his face afterwards, where, was it disappointment? Was it anger? I think it was more sort of resigned, a kind of feeling of resignation that, yes, I f***ed up again, which he proceeded to just keep doing throughout the game.
It was coming from Fred. He was already dropping a 0 out of 10, and then he went into negative numbers because let's do it. Let's run through the Leicester City goals one at a time and discuss the percentage opprobrium required for each individual Man United player for each of them. So, the first goal, Maguire has the ball under absolutely no pressure. Leicester are pressing 1-on-1 with the 3 passing options that Maguire has. He's got Wan-Bissaka to his right, he's got Telles to his left, and he's got Fred directly in front of him. Now, coming at Fred is a Leicester City player. I think Tielemans is right behind Fred, which means that that Fred is not going to have any options available. But this is not an absolution of Fred in this, because this is one of the worst, like you said, it's one of the worst individual performances ever. But Maguire's decision in that moment, in his infinite £80 million worth of wisdom, knocks the ball to Fred under pressure. Fred, a player who we all know, as you mentioned at the time, cannot half turn and give himself space. So Fred has one choice and one choice only, and that's to pass the ball back to Dean Henderson. Unfortunately, Kelechi Iheanacho is standing in between Fred and Dean Henderson, and there is no power on the pass. He's obviously concerned about overhitting it and putting Henderson in trouble, and instead he fully gifted Leicester City a goal. And I'm sure part of the look on his face was just kind of that shock and embarrassment of doing something that you're paid to do absolutely atrociously with millions of people all around the world watching you do it.
Well, that's right. That's why we're a podcast. And so we can absolutely phone this in week after week and no one can see us.
Yeah, exactly. Just the same old nonsense.
Yeah, but what about the podcast? Yeah.
Well, exactly. Us and Fred, that handshake emoji, same nonsense every single week.
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was abysmal. It's like, I think if that was Pogba in the Fred situation, he'd have got out of it because he's got that kind of close control and awareness to create space using his body and on the half turn, as you say. But Fred has none of that. He absolutely panics, gives that ball away like it's a hot potato, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And just all the time kept doing it throughout the game. But Maguire just takes some fucking leadership. It's unfair, of course, to hate on Maguire all the time because he's not alone in being, aggressively mediocre. But he is aggressively mediocre for the world's most expensive defender, the 13th most expensive player of all time. There have been some really great defenders: Maldini, Baresi, Beckenbauer, Moore, John Terry. No, not John Terry. Over the course of the history of football, Harry Maguire's not even close to being in that class. And of all the choices he's got, he can roll it back to the keeper, he can absolutely launch it, he can play it left, he can play it right. It's the absolute worst one. And he keeps doing this. I just kind of feel like he wants to take responsibility because he's leader, Harry Maguire, England's Harry Maguire. And he's just way less good than he believes he is. And he proves it all the time. It's just a shocking, absolutely shocking purchase from United. And it would be at half the price, I think. I mean, I think we'd think differently about him if he was Lindelof level priciness. We'd be just like, well, you get what you pay for. Now we get less than half than what we pay for. It's just...
I mean, Maguire to Fred, disaster class. In that brief moment, I mean, that is Man United's transfer strategy, overpriced issues in a nutshell, because, Fred might be an even worse buy than Maguire because at least Maguire sometimes looks like a £40 million player. Fred was £52 million and it looks like a £15 million player. I mean, how many... Every now and again, Fred plays really well and it's nice to see, and he's very sort of... He's good at the harry, and he's not the Maguire. He's good at harrying opposition players. He's also good at the harry, having a complete brain freeze and being totally useless and overpriced. But and also occasionally he's weirdly good on the ball every now and again. But when he's bad, today, any other player, we were talking about McTominay versus Fred, right? And they are so sort of similar level wise. And McTominay made a mistake for the third goal and wasn't great either. But any other okay footballer would have been better to have in the side. Any of Leicester's midfielders would have been better to have in the side than Fred by far.
Oh, God, yeah. And swapping Didi for Fred and United are completely transformed because you don't need the second defensive player in there. You can play another ball player. You can play Fernandes, Van der Beek and Pogba if you want. Or at least two of them, and it completely transforms who United are. I mean, I was thinking before we came on air about who it could be that United could try and buy, because it's such a... I mean, I feel like a broken record, of course, because we were talking about this last season. It's such a desperate need for United to have a defensive midfielder in there, because it's just going to knit the two halves of the team together. Whereas right now, they have to play six at the back, and Ollie was talking about it the other day, wasn't he? He called it a back six. And then they're hoping, because there's no real pattern in the attacking play because Ole can't coach that, they're hoping that individual brilliance will do enough. And today, individual brilliance wasn't enough because they're knackered, because they all played on Thursday, basically. And I think what was it? 4 of 8 United shots today were from
3.
Harry Maguire. 3. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sums it up, doesn't it? And as United are desperately chasing the game again at the end, Harry Maguire's pushing forward into the number 10. We've got a flat front 6. I mean, it's just a mess all over.
The moment you said it sums it up, the Harry Maguire 3 attempts out of United's total 8, and the one that sums it up more than any is he's got Greenwood, Cavani, Fernandes, possibly still Martial by that point, I think, ahead of him on the pitch, and he decides to shoot. You think this was late in the game, and he tries to shoot from 30 yards out. What are you? I mean, one in however many, 1 in 150 of those goes into the top corner, and looks fantastic, and you can be the big I am. But this is I think part of the reason I feel like he's got big Steven Gerrard energy, which is about as insulting as you can be on a Man United podcast. Let's talk a little bit about the second goal, which Harry Maguire was not involved in any way, shape or form. Leicester's second, I mean. Our goal was nice, brilliant from Pogba, very smart from Van der Beek. We'll talk a bit more about him in a minute, and a lovely finish from Greenwood. So well done, 3 good players. Bad players, straight back into it though, no messing. Don't let the heads drop. Tielemans picks up the ball and plays a 1-2 with, I'm not sure who it was.
Ndidi, Iheanacho, I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Iheanacho, but I could be wrong. In that moment, completely takes Nemanja Matic out of the game. 100%. Matic can now play no more part in this because he's been caught with players running behind him, and there's a 0. Unless he had rugby tackled him, that would have been all Matic could have done at that point.
He doesn't even bother to sprint because he knows he's not going to get anywhere near there. So he's gone. He's out of the game. Yeah, 1-2.
At this point, Fred is coming across to cover Matic, and when Tielemans slows down, Fred slows down too. And what is he trying to? Is he trying to cover a passing lane to the player behind him? If so, why? Why would you do that rather than? Maybe Fred thinks Lindelof's got a better chance, but Lindelof, he's actually trying to deal with the fact that Vardy, obnoxious England players, Vardy's pulling off his shoulder and moving into space. So I don't actually, Lindelof, a player who gets plenty of stick and a lot rightly so, I actually think this one was his fault. Fred stands still, then realises he should speed up, by which point it's too late. Tielemans breezes past him, is in acres of space in the box, and it's 2-1. Just so spectacularly, such spectacular evidence of United's profound shortcomings in defensive midfield.
Again, sorry for the very reductive analysis, but slot Ndidi in there, and he's either making the first tackle or covering the run, or both probably. And N'Golo Kante would be in 2 places at once, and you've got United's double pivot there just completely ruined by a simple 1-2. And it looks bad from Lindelof for sure because he's covering the run, but it's a straight run. Tielemans, it's just straight. He's not jinking past players. He just goes straight. Nope. And Lindelof, if he just stands there, Tielemans runs into him. But of course, that would provide the opportunity to put Vardy in, a man who's barely scoring at all at the moment. So maybe that would have been a better decision. But it looks bad because Lindelof's just run out of the way. Harry Maguire, I can't even remember what he's doing. He's probably standing statuesque, pointing at someone at this point. But it's terrible. It's a completely preventable goal that you would expect a United side to, or any top half level side to be able to cope with. A simple 1-2 and a straight run.
So at this point, you start to. We'll talk about the third goal in a sec, but it's kind of icing on the cake, really. At this point, the sort of existential question becomes: why play a double pivot who offer no defensive protection? What is the point? And we can have a little chat about Ole. And, you know, I'm kind of pro Ole in spite of myself and probably always will be. But this team selection is utterly bizarre when you think this is United's last game for a fortnight. What? Why is this the game he rests Bruno for? Played Bruno in the second leg against Sociedad. Second leg, 4-0 up Bruno played.
I know, it's totally bizarre. I mean, and the fact that you've got this game, and you know, maybe Ollie's convinced himself that cup competitions don't matter because he made such a big thing of it the other day. They do matter. They really matter to the fans. I mean, you know, the Champions League top 4 trophy, the Arsene Wenger trophy, awesome, great, you know, ensures that the Glazer family get to, you know, suck £40 million a year out of the club and stick it in their pockets. But it doesn't, and great, we get to play some decent sides rather than FC Omark on a Thursday night, which is good for us podcasters. But you know, cups and trophies matter. It's memories that matter, you know, and there may even be fans in the FA Cup final in May, maybe, you know, who knows. And that's gone now because he made no substitutions on Thursday night, had to rest some players because they're all knackered because Bruno plays every single game, except for the really tough quarterfinal in a competition we're a couple of steps away from winning. I don't know. It is deeply frustrating, and this kind of thing does provide evidence for the large contingent of people who are, you know, not supporters of Ollie or what he does. And you know, it's not a good look, and it's not really. And honestly, I don't believe in kind of sideline passion from managers, but he's standing there with his hands in his pockets, and he just gives off the impression of he has no idea what to do about it.
Yeah, and I think if he gave off that impression and then made really brilliant tactical substitutions and thoroughly changed the game, you could forgive the impression. But the real problem is it also looks like he doesn't know what to do, and often what he tries to do doesn't work when the game gets away from him. So the other thing to say about this lineup is you're then expecting so much of players that have played so little. So Tellez has played a reasonable amount, but not much really. Donny van der Beek, I mean, the way Solskjaer has handled Van der Beek is appallingly bad. Now, you could argue that Van der Beek at no point has really taken a game by the scruff of the neck and made it really look like he belongs at United and should be banging on the door for a place in the side. But they signed him, and what he does, I mean, he's just a terrible fit for the way this team plays because he's clearly a systems player. You can see his brain ticking when he's got the ball, and he's clearly smart on the ball, you know. But he's very rarely, like you said, we were talking before recording, a 0.05 XG per 90, 0.05 expected assists per 90. When every minute, basically, he's played at number 10, or almost every minute.
No, it's not good numbers, and you're right, he hasn't put up anything that justifies his team selection. But he plays 1 in 4 or 5 games. I mean, I think he's had 6 starts this season. And he hardly ever plays. He's always cold coming into it. He's a much better player than we've seen. You're right. He's used to be playing in a team at Ajax where it's a system that they play from under 5s up to the first team, and always have done, a 4-3-3 system, and with neat patterns of play. And he's come into a team where it's kind of this magical thinking. There has to be, you know, a moment of brilliance from somebody. Hopefully the back 6 stop the opposition, and a moment of brilliance. And he's not that player. He doesn't progress the ball in the same way that Bruno does. He doesn't take the same kind of risks. You know, I'm really surprised he hasn't been tried at 8 at all. I mean, maybe they're so worried about the defensive side of this United team that they just won't do it, or Ollie won't do it. But he looks like a player that could play neat patterns at number 8, and would, if you took that risk. I mean, and maybe you have to have a actual defensive midfielder in there, which doesn't exist at the club. But if you took that risk, it would allow you, maybe not in this game, but in certain games or when everyone's fresh, to play Pogba and Bruno in the same team, and then all of a sudden you've got so much more creativity, so much more danger to the opposition, like imposing a style on the opposition, which we just don't get ever, really, even in the good times.
So you mentioned maybe not in this game, but then the flip side of that is you say, okay, never mind the actual disaster class from Fred, right? That you couldn't. I mean, I say you couldn't have predicted it. It's not like it would have been. It's not like any of us are watching this going, "Oh my god, I can't believe Fred was rubbish in this game." He's normally so good. But even that aside, it would have been completely logical to start this game with Fred and Van der Beek next to each other and Bruno and Pogba ahead of them with Greenwood on the right. Because even then, you're playing, two midfielders in attacking positions, really, in terms of Bruno and Pogba, both of whom contribute behind the ball as well as in front of it. So, it's not like you'd have been wildly open at that point. And also, the defensive midfielders don't do any defending. They're like, Matic is fine when someone's running directly at him, as I've said a number of times. But that's the only circumstance in which he protects the back four. So, Matic's main strengths are he's good on the ball. Van der Beek's better on the ball than him, or as good, let's say. So, anyway, that's immensely frustrating. And also, I was actually found it quite frustrating that he took Van der Beek off in this game, because what are you trying to do to this player? Like, unless we're selling him this summer, he's useless to United now, basically, because how can he have any shred of belief that the manager's got an ounce of confidence in him? He's played 90 minutes. I think we worked out it was 3 times for United this season.
Right. Well, he can't believe in the manager. He can't, unless there's a deal that they've got where he said, look, you need I believe for X, Y, Z reasons, you need a season of just embedding yourself into the club, learning how we play football here, and Pogba's off this summer, and then you're going to get a chance. I mean, unless the manager said that to him, his confidence has got to be absolutely shattered. I mean, reports in the papers this week that he wants out after a season, and that has been put down to the agent, and the agent may be putting pressure on or whatever, and that more about the agent than Van der Beek. But it feels like it'd be completely natural for Van der Beek to be thinking that. What have I done here? But for the pandemic, he'd be at Real Madrid, and who knows what he'd be doing there. It might have been an easier fit. It might not have been. There's plenty of players who've gone to Real Madrid and failed. But he's, United have snuck in, bought this player that it feels like Ole didn't want or didn't ask for, and it was just a purely opportunistic purchase by Mr. Chief Football Negotiator. And it just doesn't make any sense. And at the same time, they didn't buy the defensive midfielder. They're still relying on Fred and or McTominay or both, which has this knock-on effect. And it's just so unbalanced still. And it doesn't always come out, right? It's United are second in the league. They're through the quarterfinals of the Europa League. They made the quarterfinals of the FA Cup. It's not all disaster this season, but it really does come out in games like this, all the faults being exposed. And so much of it is down to United's squad building, which, John Murtaugh and his sidekick in the Chief Football Negotiator now have to go fix somehow.
Yeah.
With no money.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say, with a budget that's nowhere near what it would need to be to get them to where we want them to be. And we basically just got to settle for this. I don't mean you got to be happy with it, but this is what it is. Like, it's not getting considerably better than this. This season is way better than I thought it was going to be. Last season, it has, in the league in particular, built on last season in a way that I wasn't expecting. We've had some fantastic results, some of which are, I would say, are freak results. The 2-0 against City. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago, but it's immensely frustrating to see the effort and commitment and up for it levels in that game versus this game. And that is frustrating. That is about the stuff that gets laughed at when you talk about it. Passion, commitment, just like mental engagement with the game. And this is a thing that I do want to cut them some slack for, because I do think pandemic football is uniquely difficult in that way. But today it was weird how there wasn't any sense of that. So, third goal. Sorry, no, jump in.
No.
Sorry.
I was just going to say, look, it's one data point, but only 8 fouls by United today. Like, they weren't even kicking them. It's like, if you're not playing well, at least get about them. I mean, sorry, I'm sounding like, Sam Allardyce or something here, but it's channeling my inner Wilder.
It's the lefties and do-gooders that are the problem, isn't it?
That's the problem, yeah. If only they'd put the reducers in, United would have been better, but they really would have been better.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Anyway,
Vardy missed that absolute gilt-edged chance after he seriously rinsed Maguire.
Oh, God, then, I felt, for a microsecond, I felt sorry for Harry Maguire because he got absolutely ruined with that. I just retired. Vardy megged Lindelof like a minute later as well. Yeah.
The third goal, Fred gave the ball away and Leicester regained possession. The free kick came in from Albrighton and it was a fine free kick.
It's a soft foul, by the way. I mean, he's...
Yeah, that's why we lost.
yeah, totally. Blame it on the ref.
We was robbed. But yeah, the ball comes in and just before the free kick was taken, I noticed that Iheanacho was like standing completely stock still. He was genuinely trying to treat Scott McTominay like Jeff Goldblum said to treat the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. Like, don't move and he won't be able to see you. His vision is based on movement. And it was only after the ball was swung in and McTominay was looking at the ball that Iheanacho started to move again. I mean, why someone... I mean, it's McTominay's fault because he's not looked behind him. But why someone isn't taking more charge of that and saying, we need to spread this zone to cover a little bit more of the back post, lads. Like, it was very basic stuff, it looked to me.
Yeah, well, no full back on the back post, which is a choice, but 1 in the back post zone and 5 on the front post zone. So it is a little odd there. But United's defending has been odd so many things this season, just so often. Yeah, so all 3 of them should be preventable. These goals today should be. The midfield defensive block for the second goal, Fred's back pass, Harry Maguire's soft pass out for the first, and who's in the zone and the back post for the free kick. Bad. Not that United created anything of note really anyway. So what were the chances that we're leaving that game with going, oh, if only? Not much.
There isn't. There weren't any. Tellez had a whack from the far side. Pogba passed one from 20 yards out, side-footed it to the keeper. Maguire, a couple of headers from corners, one of which was absolutely vintage 50p head. It was just absolutely appalling football from start to finish for United. I mean, really, genuinely one of the worst games of the season. And, it came back on the back of that decent 45 minutes against Milan, Pogba being back and some hope. And, I actually thought he did make a difference in terms of, United's progressive play in the first half. And he was obviously instrumental in the equaliser. And he will make an enormous difference if he's fit between now and the end of the season. But overall, I mean, Martial was so good against City, had absolutely none of that about him today. Really, really sad. A fine day for the haters in that regard. Ole, I thought, had a stinker. Let's talk about the 4 subs. So, didn't make any subs. We knew that this wasn't going to be an 80-minute substitution because Bruno gets special treatment. So, he was obviously going to be on the pitch sooner than 80 minutes, even if, given United were chasing a goal. I thought those 4 subs I thought it was too big a swing to take at once for a start. Not that United had a lot of rhythm, but it didn't contribute to United's not to unsettling their rhythm. Perhaps he took Pogba and Van der Beek off for fitness reasons because they were just back from injury. That was, well, I was going to say it's Van der Beek's first start after injury, but it was technically. But Pogba, in Pogba's case, it was his kind of first start back from injury. Maybe that's the reason. But kind of everything that you gain from bringing on Bruno, Cavani, you lose as much in terms of United's chances of changing that game from the players that went off the field. And Fred stayed on for 90 minutes, which
8-4, 8-5, yeah. So that was the first change of shape when Diallo came on, and McTominay was basically the only defensive midfielder. First change of shape, 85th minute.
And that's the second game where Solskjaer has kind of cost United the game by not taking Fred off at half time. The one where he had the yellow card was that against PSG, I think it was.
Right.
But this one, I understand the kind of impetus not to want a punishment beat players into a half-time substitution, but Fred should not have been on the pitch at the 46th minute of that game, because it was just evident what a terrible performance he was having. And I know that's, players do improve their performance over the course of a game, but there was a level of awfulness that it felt like he could have just brought McTominay on and said it was for fitness,
Sure, yeah. Doesn't even need to provide an excuse, does he, to take Fred off and put McTominay on, or take both Matic and Fred off and McTominay and an attacking player on? Sure.
Yeah.
You're chasing a game. But at 2-1 down, United was still in the same shape, offering absolutely nothing different at all.
Yeah.
It's desperate. It's desperate. Desperately
were we 2-1
poor.
down at half time? Was that first goal? That second goal was in the first half, was it? Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
Well, I can't even remember when that second goal was, but right up until very late in the game, it was all like for like, those substitutions.
Yeah.
Still had two defensive players in there until the 85th minute.
Yeah, honestly, Solskjaer is very frustrating at times. I mean, I think, like you said, we're second in the league. There have been some cultural shifts at the club. There have been some deadwood got rid of. He's done some stuff right, but Rodgers is clearly a better 21st century tactical coach than Solskjaer is. I don't think there's any debate about that. Not that he had to be today, because United, I don't think Leicester did anything particularly well today. In fact, they squandered some really big chances. They basically were just gifted comfortable passage through to a semi-final against Southampton.
Yeah, and Southampton being more bad than good this season, it's a huge opportunity lost. So you can't help but think that.
We'll take a quick break, come back and talk about some newsy stuff. No one bothers predicting because whatever the next game is, because there's an international break between now and then. But yeah, so no preview needed, but there's a couple of newsy bits and pieces to talk about. So we'll come back after the break and talk about those. Right, so you a big TeamViewer user, Ed?
No. I had heard of them, which was a bonus, just on account of, it's one of those software companies for remote working and all of that kind of stuff. Do a lot of enterprise AR type stuff as well. But yeah, little bit of a weird one. This one, the new Principal shirt sponsor. Principal, what do they call them? Principal sponsor. In that their revenues are about less than half of United's. So they're a small company taking a huge punt on this kind of deal, leapfrogging them into the big time, I guess. Which is, I guess they've bought the Richard Arnold. We've got 1.1 billion fans around the world, which has, by the way, grown significantly during our period of being quite rubbish, which is amazing work. Amazing. It's worth, depending on how you view it, because the spin coming out of the club was the Chevrolet deal was also their auto segment partner, which is interesting because they didn't have an auto segment partner before, but signaling that they now will sell a auto segment partner. And so that might make up for what looks like about a 20% cut in the headline number. The interesting thing, and you might say, look, that's reasonable because we're middle of a pandemic, global downturn. It's as the club put out, the biggest shirt sponsorship signed during the pandemic. Woohoo! Yeah, it's quite pathetic, that one. But it's a 5-year deal, and this is not a structural recession. This is a a demand side hit caused by this pandemic, which we'll be moving out of in the next 6 to 12 months. And so in 5 years, but maybe even in 2 years' time, this deal might not look so good.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look great now, and it's a kind of classic lose-lose. So I don't know if long-time listeners may remember that when Man United absolutely rinsed Chevrolet for every penny they possibly could, the geezer who made the deal got sacked almost straight away afterwards by Chevrolet. This time, in a kind of beautiful sort of poetic narrative, nobody got sacked, but the TeamViewer's share price absolutely tanked. It tanked. Like, I've been looking at a lot of graphs for cryptocurrency reasons recently, and you really see up and down movements, and you can kind of like, everything's within a range, right? And then every now and again, a movement happens that's not within a range. And this is one of those. This is a very like, if you were on skis and you came across this, you'd be like, oh no, I'm on a slope that I'm not prepared for at this point. So yeah, we are very bad for you. Do not become Man United's shirt sponsor.
Yeah, I think there was probably less commentary on United than a company spending what looks like about 18% of their annual revenues on marketing or one marketing line item, which is incredibly aggressive. And maybe it'll pay off if you take a long-term view. Maybe it'll rapidly expand their market and their reach and their name recognition, and they'll be up there with the likes of Slack and Zoom and Dropbox as collaborative tools that the enterprise around the world uses, and this is a genius move in order to do it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'd never heard of them, and I'm reasonably tech literate, and they're not a company I'd come across. A very funny tweet from a friend of the show, Rob Martinez, who said that TeamViewer has been on every work computer he's ever had, and he's literally never used it, which was very funny.
Yes. About as useful as a chocolate teapot or Nemanja Matic in defensive midfield.
The one, I know this is all hashtag business talk, so, who cares about that stuff? But the one thing that we really care about is that their logo is harmless. It's not a nice logo, but it is not an awful eyesore of a logo.
Yeah, but you know what happens when it was two dudes in the garage. I'm just assuming it's two dudes in the garage because it's tech. They didn't have any money, so they went on Fiverr or Upwork or one of those, and they got the cheapest possible logo maker. Or it may even have been from like a pool of vectors that they could choose from. That's what it looks like. I mean, it's not horrendous, but
no, it's just two arrows.
Yeah.
Hopefully
they use the white version, though, or the black version, not the blue version, which is actually their company colours, because that's going to clash.
The one hope that I have is that it's two arrows, like, showing what a successful pass line might look like. And maybe, like, the TeamViewer, it's a sort of subtle signal, like, look at your own team. These arrows represent us trying to pass to each other, not the other team. That's,
Let's overlay Fred's pass map on the TeamViewer logo and see what it looks like.
88% pass completion. Pass completion is the worst statistic. Anyway, so, yeah, there was that. And like you said, maybe if they sell the auto... what did you call it? Slice. Auto
segment.
Slice. Segment, not slice. Maybe if they sell the auto slice, they'll make up the money, but it's a big, big loss. And
auto slice being a feature in the TeamViewer platform, right?
Yes. Yeah. And what happens when any opposition attacking midfielder tries to put a through ball through our defence? It's an auto slice. The thing that you said about it being a 5-year deal in the middle of a pandemic is also really significant, because what are you doing? Why are we signing up? I mean, I guess United were just under really serious pressure, and they probably, given that percentage drop in value in their share price for making this deal, just kind of illustrates the scale of marketing deal this is for anything other than a gigantic company.
Well, yeah. I mean, I am surprised it's not a shorter term deal, just because, unless there's some provisions in the contract for success related bonuses or some kind of ratchet over the term of the deal, which doesn't seem like there is. Or maybe it's just there's no discount if United aren't in the Champions League and it's stable income for the next 5 years. The other thing that's happened on the sort of financial thing is it looks like we're moving to a new format for the Champions League, and which will give a bit more power to the clubs versus UEFA. Looks like it'll add 4 extra match days, and I don't think they've agreed this or it's been signed or anything like that. But it looks like they're moving to this sort of Swiss model to give you those 4 extra match days, where you have 10 group match days in one giant table, and you just have 10 random teams you play from a league of 36 or something like that, and then knock out after that. Seems like that's what's going to happen. And so that will provide extra income, assuming United are in it, which is always a big assumption these days. I mean, it looks like United will make the Champions League. First time since Fergie that United will have made the Champions League back to back. Hopefully we will get more than 6 games if they bring this new format in, because we can't get knocked out of the group stage until after 10 games.
Yeah, I guess we made it to the Champions League back-to-back once, but not by league position, right? Because we qualified after the Europa League, but that doesn't count as,
Yeah, well, the other thing is there's 2 places for historical success. So, 4 additional clubs. So 2 will go to... they may get... I don't think it's been decided. They may go to on the coefficient. So, England might get a 5th. They may go to smaller nations. I can't imagine that's true.
No.
But 2, it looks like will be held for historical success, which is basically the clause for United, Milan, and Real Madrid to get in if they don't qualify, by rights.
Yeah, and really, it's the clause for, at the moment, it's the clause for Milan and Man United, right? Those are the teams that aren't going to... maybe they both will this season, but, in general, recently. All right, the other bit of news was, scurrilous rumour in The Sun. Eric Bailly's probably agent kicking off that by talk of him not renegotiating his contract because he's really unhappy about particularly having been left out of that second leg against Milan. Well, not even on the bench today, maybe injured, and it's always a possibility with Bailly. Maybe in a big strop, that would be really sad.
Yeah, it really would be. I mean, it would be a big mistake. I mean, whatever you think about Eric Bailly and his injury record and performances on the pitch, if he goes, then United will have to buy another defender, and we already need another one anyway, for sure, in order to up the quality. Also need a defensive midfielder. Also probably need a striker. It's not certain that Cavani is going to be staying, and he's got 7 goals all season, which I think is more than Anthony Martial. Not quite sure who's had a stinker of a season. So just kind of piling up what United really need in order to progress or not go backwards next season. Given that Chelsea probably won't have as bad a season. We don't know what's happening with Tottenham or Arsenal, but maybe they'll be doing Tottenham and Arsenal type things. And Liverpool can't be as bad as they were. So it's a lot for John Murtough to sort out. But definitely a problem if Bailly's not signing that new contract.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mind you, we might be complete hypocrites. And in a year's time, when he's been injured for most of next season and he signed that new 6-year contract, we'll be going, what the hell did we do?
Yeah, there's a player with that injury record, and we've given him the Phil Jones deal. Phil Jones! Manchester United player Phil Jones. That's this good and normal club. Man United next play on the 4th of April. That's Easter Sunday. Will there be a resurrection when we play Brighton, or will Graham Potter's mighty XG army turn up and turn us over?
Interesting. 2 wins in a row and a good win against Newcastle yesterday. I mean, Newcastle right in it now, right in the muck. And it's such a big difference winning 2 in a row when you're down at the bottom there.
Yeah,
Fulham.
Who could possibly? We're about to talk about this on Backers content, so we're not giving this away for free. This relegation chat. But the who could possibly have predicted well, if only there was some model that suggested that perhaps Brighton's results were likely to turn around in the future.
Right.
What a shocking development.
Fulham play Newcastle. Last thing I'll say about it. Fulham play Newcastle on the last day of the season. That is lining up to be really tasty. Really tasty.
My prediction for that, by the way, is that it won't be really tasty because Fulham will be clear and Newcastle will already be relegated by that point.
Kind of hope so.
Maybe not. All right, that'll do. Let's predict a score because we have to do this for some reason. But of a game that's happening after an international break that might destroy football altogether. Will Brighton versus Man United take place on Sunday the 4th of April?
That is probably the better question, isn't it? How many of them have caught the plague in all this international travel? I think England played 3 times or something insane like that. So I'm going to predict that United win 3-2 after winning a penalty after the final whistle.
Oh my God, that was this season.
Yeah, I know.
Feels like about a century ago, that game.
It really does. There's just so much. I mean, I think there will be goals because Brighton, XG masters and United can't defend and Brighton pretty open. So why not? I'm going to go for 3-2 anyway because...
I am going to predict a United loss in that game. I think that XG's Graham Potter will do this club FC's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it'll be a 2-1 win to Brighton, but I hope not. So have a lovely international break, everyone. We'll be back after that Brighton game.
You don't fancy doing a bonus episode then, Paul? No, you're not up for it. Not up for a bit of international chat.
Honestly, I never want to do another one of these again as long as I live. But we are here
Ollie
for the long run.
Has broken Paul. He's broken him. Ollie staring into space. He's really got the 1,000-yard stare down. I kind of, I'd say that Harry Maguire had the 1,000-yard stare, but actually his eyes are a bit too close together, so it looks like he's kind of cross-eyed sometimes. So he hasn't got the parallax to stare 1,000 yards, has Harry. I think he might be a bit short-sighted. Anyway, Ollie's got that one. Hands in pockets, big coat on. He's got that kind of, underbite going when he's in a bad mood, Ollie, and he just stands there staring, going, "What the fuck am I doing?" That's how we feel on the podcast these days, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of. And I think in a way, Ollie's, the fact that it's Ole is the thing that is making me not be broken. Because if it was anyone else, the amount I'd be shouting about the manager after a game like that is a lot. But anyway, talking of which, stay tuned, Patreon backers, because Tottenham lost in the Europa League, and it was really funny. So yeah, we'll always have Jose. Everyone else, we'll see you after the international break when we too are resurrected on Easter Sunday. I guess Easter Monday. But Patreon backers, stay tuned for some football chat.
All right, thanks everyone.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.